So last time we set up our CSS. We also make some changes to the background color together with the process of installation of our two fonts, Bebas and Instrument Sans. Now today we're going to be continuing with the CSS by making the visuals of every element that we have look correct. So let's start here. First of all, this is the reference to which we want to make our website look like, right? So will be our reference throughout this course. Obviously, you have this file for free. You can access it using the link in the description below. Now, I'm just going to go here to the config here and add a new file. I'm going to call this resets.css. Now, the resets.css should obviously be imported here. Import resets.css, and it's the top level file, so I'm just going to put it at the top. Now here, what is the resets.css file? In simple terms, our browser would create some CSS properties that will make it more convenient for us to work, but sometimes those properties are not the best. So in order to work with them, we have to first disable them, right? So this is the file we'll be using to reset the changes made by our browser. The first thing here is all before and all after. We're just going to take this and say box sizing border box. Now, what is the use of this? We are basically selecting every element and every pseudo element. You don't need to know what pseudo elements are, just include them here. If we get them in this course, we're just going to be talking about them then. But for now, you don't need to know about them much. And we are making every element be a box size and border box. Now, what does box size and border box mean? This basically means when the height and the width of the element is being calculated, we want to include both the borders and the content. So originally it will be just the content, but we also want to include the borders, right? So that's basically it. Now we can just save this and we can move on to our design. Now, if we go back here, you won't really see any changes, considering we did not make anything that actually makes a visible difference. One thing we can do here now to make a visible difference is work on our logo, right? So under appearances, I'm going to create a new file. I'm going to call this navbar.css, and obviously I should include this just below the body.css here. Import navbar. CSS. So here we can just start working. And the first thing we want to do is edit our logo. I want to make our logo with a height and the width of 32 pixels. Now, I prefer doing it height-wise. And the good thing is that SVGs most of the time don't matter if you select the height or the width. But saying that, that means that if your SVG has a set ratio when you designed it, then that ratio should scale automatically with it. Now, if we make it now height 32 pixels, which is what I wanted, and if we go back here, you can see it doesn't change because we forgot to add it here. So we referenced this class, but this class was never applied here. So I'm just going to go here under the image as a class logo. Great. So now you can see is 32 pixels, and it does look a bit too small. That's because when designing this, we used the Figma blur property, which changes how things look just a bit. So I'm just going to resize it just a bit here, and it's going to be 36 pixels. Okay. Yeah, now it's just a bit bigger, but it's exactly what we want. Now we want to work on this astrology sign, and we will go to our config resets file. Now you can see that the actual links have been styled differently, which is good, but in this case we want to have our own links. So we're just going to select all of our links on the page, on the website, and we're just going to say text decoration, none. This will make sure that the underline disappears. Next up, we want to say color, inherit. This will make it the color. This will probably just remove the blue color and make it like this. Now this is exactly what we want here, and we can just move on now to making it the proper size first of all. Okay. Uh, hmm, let's make it the proper size now. How do we do that actually? So to make a text a proper size, first of all, we need some variables for fonts. I'm gonna create this font size variable, and I'm just gonna call this font size medium, right? MD, since this just going to be the baseline, and it should be 18 pixels. Now we can't really say 18 pixels because as the user changes the screen size, the text size on the browser settings, this 18 pixels will not scale. So what we have to do is say 18 pixels divided by 12. So we get 1.5. So we have to do 1.5 RAM units. So 1 pixel is just 12 so one rem is 12 pixels, so 18 ray, you just divide it by 12 and you get 1.5 rems. So let's just save this, and we need to do some responsive design. Now we did not talk about responsive design so far. Obviously you can make the logo responsive, but I just found it to be actually, let's do that, which it is something I forgot. Let's just do that quickly here. Go to the navbar and create add media, main width of the screen I'm gonna go with around 800 pixels. So starting from the 800 pixel mark below, we're gonna make the logo here change. We're gonna make it just a bit smaller, just around 32 pixels. So we're decreasing it. Actually, we have to revert this. Okay. So when the window reaches a minimum of 800 pixels, the logo should have a height of 36 pixels. But when it is below 800 pixels, around here, we will make it 32 pixels. So the same logic, let's just copy this, the same logic will carry out here. When the user gets to a screen size of about 800 pixels and above, the root components should change its variables. So this FS medium would be 18 pixels. But if let's just do 60 divided by 12 here, it's 1.34. So 1.34 rems. And when the screen size is below the 800 pixel, we want to make the font size medium to be 1.34. Now if we just save this and go back, nothing really happens again, because we have to go to the navbar, that HTML page here, and actually apply some class here. I'm just going to say this is brand name, and under navbar we're going to go here and just say dots brand name, and we're just going to say font size. We're going to make this to be I think it is, if I'm not forgetting, it is var FS medium. So if we go back, you can see that now this is bigger, and if we resize it, you can see it is bigger here, and when we resize it, it is much smaller here, which is exactly the type of behavior we want. Now, one thing, actually two things for me. The first thing here is, if you noticed, this is actually semi-bold. So let's make this semi-bold as well. So we can just say font weights, and semi-bold is around 600. So 600 is the semi-bold size. So we can just set this up here, and if we go back, you can see it gets a bit uh more bold. It becomes semi-bold. Okay, so now at this point, one thing remains, right? For this, the first part of the text, the astrology part, is this greenish color, and the second, the science part, is the pinkish color. So here we're just gonna take this. It's a teal color, so we're just gonna copy the teal color here and add it to our color variables. Let's go CLR teal, and it's gonna be at the midway point of lightness. So I'm just gonna do 500, and I'm just gonna apply this color here. Now I like to make all my color text in lowercase, so I'm just gonna do that, and I'm just gonna go here and say CLR pink again 500, and let's just grab the pink color from here. Grades. Okay, so let's just make this proper. Very nice. So now we can just go here, but the question is, since we have just this text, how can we just make this part uh teal and this part pink? Easy. We just separate them, right? So you should understand, you should remember that HTML doesn't know it doesn't know tabs, it doesn't know two spaces, it only knows one space. And currently, since there aren't really end text besides the astrology sign text here, it will all it will trim the text and omit every extra space around here. Okay. So now we have these inside of spans. We can now say, for this part, we can say teal. Let's just say teal. And for this part, we can say pink. So now we can go back to the navbar, and we can just say dot brand name. We can do dot brand name dot teal, and say color var CLR teal 500, and we can say brand name dots pink, and do the same thing, var CLR pink 500. Okay, but in all honesty, we can just omit this part, since we'll not be having anything, any other thing with dot pink and dot teal. But just to be safe, I'm just going to keep it here, since you never know. You never know, like when you will need this, and when you would add additional classes for the teal, and you might want to have different properties for different classes. So just a good sign to be more specific here. So I'm just going to save it, and hopefully now this works. If we go to our website, you see this works, but there's extra space right here, and we can easily omit that. Let's just go to our HTML and find this extra space. You can see here is an extra tab space. Maybe we can do this. And if we now look at it, now it is working properly. It would have been nice though if we can just do it like this, separate it into additional lines, but we have to do it like this, which is not the end of the world. Just make sure that this is readable for you. So we can just classify them actually like this. I think this won't break it. Okay, yeah, it does. So no problem. We can go back here into one line, since this is a one line text. Now we can move on. So we have our two nav identity section elements fixed up here, the name and the logo. We can now just move on to the right side and work on this. Now this should be the same text size. So let's just go back here. And I think this is the text, right? So made by 12 and A students. So I'm just going to do this and I'm just going to say made by. So this is very simple. I'm just going to copy this and go again. We don't need the resets for this. We can now just go to the navbar and just say dot made by and just say, I think it is font size var fs medium. And for the color here, it is grade 700. So it's just B2, right? So we're just gonna have to say color gray var CLR gray 700. Now, obviously we don't have that in our color variable. So I'm just gonna go there and I'm just gonna add an additional one here. And I'm just gonna say 700. And I'm just gonna say B2, B2, and B2. Okay, so that's the color. So this is working quite perfectly. Now we can move on to this part here. And let's see. Let's just go back to the index.html and we found the h1 here. And we just gonna call this class. I'm going to call this headline, right? So now we are out of the navbar, so we can just close this off. And we are into the main components here. So this is the main content of the website. So I'm just going to do it in a main.css. And here in the main.css, I'm just going to say headline. And for this, I'm just going to say font size. This should be var fs extra large, or maybe 2 extra large. Let's just look at it for a moment here. Yeah, so it is probably the biggest elements here. So I'm just going to do extra large, which should suffice here. And we don't obviously have that font size in our font variables. So I'm just going to add it here. First of all, the font size in this case should be 96. So font size extra large should be 96, which is just 96 divided by 12 here, and it is 8, so 8 rem. And then we're just gonna go here and say font size extra large, and this I'm gonna decrease it from 8 rem to be around maybe 6 rem or 5 rem. Let's go 5 rem and we'll see. We'll adjust this. Obviously I don't have a mobile design, so I'm just kind of looking at the numbers and deciding myself. But in a professional environment, you'd probably have these numbers provided for you. Okay, so now we have the font size XL. Only thing that remains is to add this imports main.css here. Now we already have this class set up. So if we go back, you can see this is completely working great. Now, one thing remains. Let's go back to the main.css and we want to say, here in this case, we want to say that the font family should actually be bbus, right? So bbus new. I think this is how you spell it, if I'm not mistaken. So let's just go back here. Okay, great. So it is working. But we want to make this on different separate lines. So as you can see, it is on 2 lines right here. Okay, so how do we do that? We can just say width, actually max width, and this should be like 12 ch. Ch basically means it is another unit for characters. So like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 characters here. And it is not exact, but it does get the job done for now. Also, there's too much space right here, and we want to decrease that. Also, we want to make it central line, so some changes have to be made. So first thing, text line center. Also, we're gonna say letters line heights. Line height, I want to say 100% here. Okay, obviously this gets us close, but it's not quite 100%. I think it was 90% when I was designing this. So yeah, around this height, 90%. Great. So now we want to take the upper part. I think it is the upper part and make it white. It is already white, but the lower part should be the teal color. Okay. So great. So what we can do here, we can say dot headline dot teal, and we can apply this. Okay, we can apply the color bar CLR teal 500. Obviously, if you hover over this, you can see that we are selecting something where the headline and the teal class is following each other. But if we do this, if we just remove the space, I think you can see we are selecting everything which has both of these classes. So spaces in CSS sometimes do matter. Obviously, we have to now go in and enter your, I think it is the date of birth parts. So I'm just going to apply a span, and obviously we can't really create separation again because this is all on one line. So it might be just annoying to work with, but it's fine. Let's just go to class and say teal. But actually in this case, we want to go here and add the space back because we are selecting the span inside of this. So it is actually inside of the headline. Now let's go back here and look at that. That's working very nicely. So we don't have much more time for today. So let's just try to add this parts as well. If we have time here. Now this should be very simple, right? We are already doing so much in this case. Now we can just go to class and say headline, subheadline here. And let's go to the main part. And here for the subheadline dot sub headline here, we want to do 16 pixels, which is a bit small, and gray 700. So first of all, we can do var CLR gray 700, and we can do font size. I think it was 16 pixels, so it was var fs small. Now let's go back here and let's go to the font variables, and we're just gonna apply some changes here. There's gonna be fs small here as well. So on the larger screens, fs small should be 16 pixels. Now if we get our calculator out, 16 divided by 12 is 1.34. So again, 1.34 rems. And on smaller screens, it should be 14. So 14 divided by 12 here, it should be 1.16. And it goes on, so it's 1.167 here. So I want to be as precise as possible. So 1.167 rem. And we can just save this and go back. And obviously nothing will happen. Actually, something should happen since we already applied the font size. Okay, so something should happen if we do swall. Okay, great. So you can see some of the font has been resized. So this was exactly what we wanted. So now one thing here is let's check the responsiveness, right? So you can see on smaller screens how everything is resized perfectly to fit everything. Uh, and you can see as the screens get larger here, as it reaches 800 pixels, everything takes its full size. My PC is lagging for some reason, so I apologize for that. But hopefully you can see how everything is working quite nicely here. Now we have a bit of time, so we can continue working even more. I'm just going to completely skip this part since I want to work on this on a separate video, but let's work on this logo at least here. So for this logo, it has a height of 96 pixels. So let's just select this. And for the image here, I'm just going to add a class. And I'm just going to say here, uh, class display image, sign image, right? So I'm going to go inside of the main here and just say signed image. Actually, we should probably create a separate file for the display here. Display results, display CSS as imports result display. Now, technically, the result display is inside of the main, but we can separate them into different files just to be more organized. So I'm just going to say dots. Is it images? I forgot here. Okay, so let's go back to the index, and it is sign image here. And we can say, I'm going to abbreviate this sign img. And you can say height is 96 pixels. And let's go back and apply this abbreviation. And here, and this should be on the larger screen sizes. So add media main width of 800 pixels. This should be the case. Okay, I opened the terminal for some reason. So let's just copy this and paste it here. And let's just set this up. And on smaller screens, I would like this to be around 64 pixels. So let's just go back here and check out. And you can see this has become much bigger here. And it is cutting off on the sides, but you don't really have to worry about that currently. It's typically holds due to the image. And I think if we just say object fits cover, maybe that would fix it. Okay, that did not quite fix it. But no problem, we can fix that in the next part. For today, I think having the proper sizing is quite enough. And you can see it does resize properly. Great, so now all that remains is just to apply these and push them here. I'm just going to start by saying git add all as always, git commit with a message of started basic styling. I'm going to say basic styling, and finally git push. Okay, I think that's quite enough for this video. We have done so much. Next time I'm going to be continuing with the CSS and trying to make it work even better. Thanks for watching, and until next time, goodbye.